So basically, this is my official take on what I think each of the changes will be, like, meta-wise, like, in-game-wise. I'm going to go through the list in order of, in order that they actually listed it onto the form. Which starts off with barbecue and chili. Barbecue and chili, they removed it still has the aura effect, but they removed the blood points. The blood points was the real reason I ran it on top of the aura effect. The aura effect by itself, they're just better perks. So without the blood point effect, I think it's just a C tier. It's a great perk, no, I'm gonna move it up to B tier. It's a great perk that will let you get into chase immediately after hooking someone. But without that blood point effect, it's not going to have that prestigious, everyone loves this fucking perk feel anymore, sadly. Next, we have Ruin, which is right here. Ruin got actually quite a hefty nerf. It automatically deactivates when you get a kill on a survivor. And they also cut the regression of the perk in half, because tier 3 of Ruin used to regress 200% when you're not on the generator. Now it will go down to 100%. That is not as strong as it used to be, but definitely something that it needed. Which is why it'll be an S tier. That I just think it was something the game really needed. It's really healthy for the game, and it gives you other options to run when it comes to the slowdown perks. On top of this, they also added 10 seconds to every single gen, so gens will now be 90 seconds instead of 80 seconds. So I really think that that's really not going to be as bad. You're just going to see more of a variety of slowdown perks now. Next on the list, they have Goes the Weasel, which is 20%, which will be about 15 seconds instead of 20 seconds. And it is set to the current progression of the generator, 15% of that, instead of the max regression, which I'm less of a fan of, so it's going to be an A tier. But also, in addition to this, they added a 2.5 regression to the base kick, so I don't think it's going to be as bad. I'm actually going to move that down to A tier as well, because I forgot that I was doing this on meta. So I think they're still going to be great perks, they're just no longer going to be on that pedestal. Corrupt Intervention, I think Corrupt Intervention is still just as good as it used to be. It only deactivates when you get a down. And the way a lot of killers use this is Trapper uses it to get set up, Hag uses it to get set up. So killers that use a little bit of setup time are going to be just fine with this. Killers that used it to get an early down will suffer. But that is the only people who will really suffer with it, so I don't think it's going to be bad at all. In fact, it's still probably going to be used quite a lot. Tinkerer is now limited to once per gen. And I still think people are going to run it just as much. It's still a great perk. It still tells you directly where to go. As soon as you see a gen pop off for it once, you're probably just going to repeatedly go back to it every once in a while. More than other generators. I think that perk's still going to be just as strong. After that, we have Noed. Noed is in an interesting spot where it seems very toxic to run it, but what they've added to it is basically it starts off at 4 meters. You can see the aura, but it slowly increases up to 24 meters. Over 30 seconds that you can see the aura of the hex totem. So if people choose to stay back and go for that save, it'll be pretty easy for them to find the hex totem, and it'll be a lot more difficult for the killer to just camp it out. And for that reason, I think it's going to fall in usage, which I think is perfect. It's still very powerful, but I definitely nowhere near as powerful as it used to be. Which I think is which is really healthy for the game, because Noed is a really shitty thing to play against. It's not a lot of fun to play against. It's just unfun. And that's one of the things that we're addressing with this update, of taking trying to help deal with situations where people just find things unfun to play against. And then we got Scourge Hook Pain Resonance, which is still going to be just as powerful. Same regression, numbers are the same. You just don't get the information anymore. But I don't think the information, though valuable, if you're really worried about the information, just run Tinker. Because the slowdown is the main attraction of the perk, not really the information. So you won't know what one blows up, and you won't get the scream from the survivors that are on it. But I still think it's going to be just fine. It'll be okay. I don't think people are going to really miss the scream. I think you'll be just fine. Next we are on to the survivor meta perks that were changed. This is Dead Hard, is the first one. So Dead Hard no longer gives you distance, it just gives you an endurance effect. So it is just like, the endurance effect is the one that gives you the extra hit. It is the exact same as Borrowed Time. And so obviously it's not going to be S tier. Well, actually, it's pretty much still S tier. Basically low S tier, high A. It still gives you the endurance effect, still that sprint burst live exhaustion perk slot that everybody loves it for. People are still gonna run it. You can never really fully take it away from them. You just can't go for those distance plays anymore, which is gonna only really the high MMR survivors are gonna really notice the main difference between it. So I still think you're gonna see a lot of Dead Hard still. Once you get people used to the change. Also, I'm curious what the animation is going to be for activating Dead Hard, because it's no longer the lunge, and it's now the endurance effect. So they're going to have to tie an animation to that somehow, so the killers can know when it's activated. Then Decisive Strike. Decisive Strike got shortened back down to 3 seconds. Endurance no longer affects it, and also, it also deactivates as soon as the exit gates are powered at the end of the game. I'm going to put it next to Noed because I don't really see people running it as much anymore. I mean, you can't progress the game, you can't heal, you can't do a generator, you can't open an exit gate. If the exit gates are powered, you can't even use the perk at all. And on top of that, it only stuns them for 3 seconds. I mean, it serves as an anti-tunnel, and that's about all it does now. There's no way you can use it to, like, safeguard yourself. There's no way you can use it to guarantee an escape. It's just anti-tunnel. That's all it does now. And for that reason, I think it's going to drop in usage. Borrowed Time, probably going to drop in usage a little bit, but by no means is it weak in any way. Because it also applies the haste effect now that is in the base of the unhook. And the endurance effect actually got increased to what is it now? Borrowed Time will now extend the duration of endurance effect unhooked by survivors from 6, 8 to 10 seconds for tier 3. 10 seconds, that is huge. It is still powerful. It is still going to be used. I don't see Borrowed Time ever really leaving the meta. Iron Will, holy shit, who on the dev team fucking hates Iron Will? Iron Will is going to be our first F tier, because there's no way to get completely silent now with Iron Will, which is the entire point of Iron Will. And also, Iron Will doesn't work at all if you're exhausted. So if you're on Sprint Burst, Live, Dead Hard, Head On, any exhaustion perk, it doesn't work at all while you are exhausted. So there's no point. I don't see anyone running this. I think it's way worse than they needed to be. I hope they change it on the PTB. Holy shit, devs. Who of you hates Iron Will? Self-care actually got a pretty nice buff. It's not going to be as slow. It's 35% now instead of the 50%. And then, oh no, 25% instead of the 50% on the lowest percentage, it looks like. But they did remove the item efficiency. So basically, it's really not that bad. Moving between C and B tier, I'm gonna move it up to B tier, just because I think that it's just a quarter of the speed. I don't think, you're just losing a quarter of the speed, with 25%. I don't think it's really that bad. Sure, you can't get to squeeze the extra heals out of medkits anymore, but that's fine. Medkits already have a lot of charges with the right add-ons. So I think it's completely fine, and you're still going to see usage of it in high MMR as survivors use it to heal while other survivors are still on gens. I think it's completely fine. I think it's going to be just fine. Spine Chill. It is only direct line of sight now, so it does not work through walls. It lingers for 0.5 seconds, and also you no longer get the speed buff. F tier. It's really only gonna help now in situations where it's like Michael or like Ghostface. Because normally by the time they have direct line of sight, you already know they're there. The speed boost is gone, which is the entire reason a lot of people ran it. I don't see it getting a lot of usage anymore. Flat out, I was not in queue this entire time, holy shit. Actually, I'm gonna stay out of queue for this. And then after Spine Chill, we have Overcharge, which is our first buff of the mix. Overcharge is going to be great. I think not quite S tier, but definitely in high A, up there with like the likes of Ruin and Pop. It's actually going to be a viable choice now because when you kick it, it starts at a slowdown of 100 and progresses to 400 over the duration of 30 seconds. So if a survivor does not stop it within those 30 seconds, then it will start regressing a lot. With the added effect of the Overcharge skill check still being there, obviously a lot of people have gotten used to the Overcharge skill check. Many people have gotten good at hitting it. I don't think it's that bad. The Overcharge skill check's pretty easy to hit now, especially if you're familiar with the Overcharge sparks and you know it's coming. But I think the slowdown is a really good way to buff it, and I think it's a really good way to get some more usage out of it. Eruption, same Eruption as normal. You just got a numbers buff. They upped the generator regression penalty to 10 seconds, and the incapacitated effect up to 10%. Sorry, and the incapacitated effect up to 25 seconds, which is really good. I'm gonna put it up there with the other slowdown perks because the slowdown perk will always be helpful. Knockout is now an anti-unbreakable, as it will slow their crawl speed by 50%, and for the first 15 seconds they are downed, it reduces their progression on their like find help bar. I think it's pretty good actually. I'm not quite gonna put it in A tier, but I am gonna put it in B tier. That it's actually gonna be a good option. You're probably gonna see it running on nurses that like to slug. And I think that nurses, blight, anybody with high mobility that can get a lot of downs really fastly is going to benefit from it. And anybody who can really benefit from slugging somebody out and dragging the game out. So you think you're going to really find a lot of usage out of that for those people. Next, we are on to clowns, calorophobia, whatever the fuck it is, fear clowns. Basically, skill checks are harder when healing in the terror radius. It's just like unnerving presence. It's not really quite bad. It's kind of just average still. I don't see it being super helpful. it'll obviously be better than before, but I'm still gonna just put that in C tier. Because I'm gonna say pre-changes, like right now, it's probably like D tier, but they buffed it up to C tier. C tier is like a solid option. Dark Devotion is a great perk. I love it a lot. It's still great right now, but now the Terror Radius will proc on any injure, not just the not just an M1. So Nemesis can use it, Hunters can use it. You know, standard things like that. I want to test this in the PTB in a custom game when it comes out, because I'm curious if it'll trigger off things like a Trapper Trap. Something like that from across the map would be really freaking cool. And I can't wait to have that on the PTB. I'm really excited to see how that comes out. It's gonna look really good. Surge, Jolt, whatever you prefer. No longer has a cooldown. Fuck yes. We've been asking for that for a minute. I'm actually going to move it up next to Ruin for one of the best right now, because I think that's great. That's amazing. Anybody who can get downs really fast. Nurse, Blight, frickin', let me see, let me think. The Dredge, Hillbilly, Bubba, anybody who can get downs really fast is going to really now benefit from Surge a lot more than they used to be able to due to the cooldown. So I think that is great. Lethal Pursuer now has the added effect of adding 2 seconds to all aura reading abilities. So you still get that aura reading in the beginning. So it's going to be great for early game setups for like Michael Myers or like Ghostface or somebody who really needs pressure in the beginning. But it's definitely not going to be you have to run this. So it's going to be a solid option. I could see that it's going to work really great for some killers and not as great for other killers. It really depends how you like to play the early game, whether you're very aggressive or whether you have to take a step back and do a bit more setup. It can really range from what killer you're playing to. The Scourge Hook Gift of Pain, the speed penalty has been increased to 10, 13, 16. Standard, not a lot of people still run it. I think the only people I've seen run it are pinheads who just haven't unlocked the perks. I don't think it's going to be super strong, but at least it got buffed. I don't know. I could be wrong on this, and maybe it'll dominate the fucking meta. Who knows? Thanatophobia got buffed. Its now max decreased speed is 22%, which I think is fucking insane. So it's definitely going up here with the likes of like Ruin, Surge, Pop Goes the Weasel. And Legions rejoice, because you are now going to make the survivors quiver in their boots as soon as they see a 22% decrease to their speed buff. Because that's fucking insane. Generators are going to go so much slower, matches are going to be so much longer. I'm so sorry, Survivor mains. Anytime you run into a Legion that runs Thanatophobia, you're gonna be in the match for like 15 fucking minutes, bro. It's gonna be crazy. Monster Shrine is now a Scourge Hook, and it will turn the basement hooks into Scourge Hooks, and then the Scourge Hooks also have the entity progress faster, which means that you go through the hook stages faster. But it will only give the speed boost on the hook stages if you're 24 meters away, which I believe is a similar distance to Make Your Choice for some perspective. I still don't see people running it. I'm gonna have it be as our first D tier, where I'm like, okay, yeah, you can get some usage out of it, but I don't see why people are gonna run it. It's not quite as bad as like Spine Chill or Iron Will, but it's just not really worth it. Now we're on to the Survivor perk buffs. Starting off with Calm Spirit. Calm Spirit's going to be another F tier. Well, actually, D tier. I want to move it up to D tier. Because you still have the no screaming, so that's good against like doctors and stuff, and you still have the no setting up birds. But you can also open chests and do totems silently, albeit at a regressed speed. I don't think the regressed speed is really required, because you do it 30% slower. I think you can set it much slower regression if you're really wanting to still have that reduced speed, but I don't see it really being super viable. Saboteur, and I will now show you the auras of Scourge hooks, which means that you're going to be able to know what hooks the killer is going to prioritize versus others. And you're going to know what 1-2 Sabo in order to make sure that the killer does not have access to those Scourge hooks. That is great. I see people getting a lot of usage out of that. I don't think it'll be an everyday thing, but I think it's something that when you see it, killers are going to notice it. Or at least, no, killers won't be able to see it, but you'll see it more, and it'll be more effective. It'll be helpful. It's one of those perks that can have a lot of impact on a match if you know how to use it and you know how to use the information that it gives you. I think it'll be great. I think the dev's really good. Saboteur is one of the ones where I think they did a really good job buffing it. It's a great perk. It still fits the thematic of the perk. It's great. That's all I really got to say about that. Then we're on to Botany Knowledge. Botany Knowledge, it's always just been you heal faster. That's just how it goes. And they're increasing the numbers on it. You now will heal 50% faster. I by no means do I think it'll be an everyday thing, but it's definitely going to stand out a lot more from the other, like, middle-of-the-pack perks. So this is going to be something you're, like, if you're bringing a med kit and you're wanting to heal yourself a lot and you're really worried about getting injured a lot, this is going to be great. It'll be a great counter to Thanatophobia, and it really puts it back up there with perks like Desperate Measures and stuff of the similar sort that lets you heal faster. Because as power creep happens and as Desperate Measures and other perks similar come out that let you heal very fast, it's definitely fallen towards the back, and I think it is a perk, it's not really going to make it very meta, but it's going to make it more viable, and I think that's really what it needed. Off the record is fucking insane. Holy shit, why would you not run this? So you will get the endurance status effect for 80 seconds if you're unhooked. Yeah, it deactivates like if you do a gen or if you unhook or if you heal. But that's 30 seconds. That's 80 seconds. That is 80 seconds you can stand in a doorway. That is 80 seconds you can stand in a hallway. That is 80 seconds you can loot the killer. That is 80 seconds that you can do anything you want. And if you get hit, it's another health state. Maybe S tier's overselling it, but holy fucking shit, why would you not run that? That's, in my opinion, bad shit crazy, very overpowered. They're probably gonna nerf it in the PTB. Lucky Break, you can now add tokens to it again by healing others. It doesn't really affect it a lot. It's still not gonna be super helpful. Lucky Break, why would you not just run, I don't know, Dance With Me? If you're worried about if you're worried about scratch marks, just run Dance With Me, I guess. I don't know. There's just better options. Pharmacy just gives you a medkit when you open a chest. Standard. This is your standard run-of-the-line perk. It's not great. It's an improvement. It's a nice it's a nice quality of life change. But you're not going to see a huge influx of users running it. Soul Survivor, I'm still putting that in F tier. As a survivor, you don't want your teammates to die, and this just gives you a buff when your teammates die. I mean, sure, it lets you open exit gates faster and stuff, but I just don't see people running it due to the fact that it still requires you to lose the game for you to get the buff. So I don't think there's going to be much people running it, because people aren't going to go into a game expecting to lose the game, you know? Distortion lets you gain tokens. That's great. I'm actually going to move it up. This might be controversial, but I'm actually going to put that in A tier, because I think that's actually great. It's a great way to hide your auras. Now, I do know the auras are already hidden by boon perks, and boon perks are in a majority of games. But I still think it's great. I still think you can get some great usage out of it. If you wanted to, you could probably move it down to B tier. but I think it's going to get some great usage, and I think it's going to be very viable and very important for killers. For killers to think about, and I think that survivors are going to be getting some usage out of it, and I'm excited to try it out on the PTB. I think Distortion's actually going to be a little bit viable. Lightweight, they just did numbers buffs. Your scratch marks will fade 5, 4, 3 seconds sooner, up from 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, no. So 5, 4, 3 seconds sooner. So your scratch marks will last longer than they would have otherwise with lightweight, but your scratch marks are more sporadic, so they're more spread out. I'm gonna put it in F tier. I don't think it's great. I don't think people are really gonna use it. People still kind of look at you weird, funky if you run lightweight right now, and I don't think it'll change. Deja Vu. Help survivors power the 3 closest generators. You get a speed boost to the 3 closest generators, and it also shows you the aura of them. That's great. I see no issue with that. I think this will be great for solo queue survivors who are really worried about 3 gens. I'm going to put it up in B tier, because I think it's great. I don't see... It'll be similar to... no, I don't want to compare it to that perk, because that perk doesn't really get run much. But I think that it'll get some usage. Anything that makes you do gens faster is great for your survivors, and this lets you do that, and it's that simple, really. No One Left Behind now triggers at exit gate power instead of it being open, and then when you unhook people, it also gives them a 7% bonus speed to survivors you unhook. So that's great. It's a nice quality of life change. I'm gonna put it up in B tier still, because I still don't think it's gonna become super meta. But I do think that it'll be great and very helpful for survivors to get that last itch escape. And it can also lead to some situations where you might have escaped because of that speed boost where you wouldn't have otherwise, and I think that'll be great. I understand the usage behind it, and I definitely see why people would run it. Dark Sense, instead of triggering every generator, will trigger when the killer enter. You have to, and first, in order to activate it, you have to complete a generator. Actually, you don't have to complete it, and when any generator is powered, this activates, and the next time the killer comes within 24 meters of you, their aura is revealed for 5, 7 to 10 seconds. Controversial opinion, I think that's S tier. You could be very overzealous with this. I think this is going to become the new Spine Chill. For people who like the old effect of Spine Chill, I think this is going to become their replacement. You don't get the speed boost from Spine Chill, so people who like that will kind of be shit out of luck. But I think it's still great, it's still helpful, and I definitely think it's one of the better changes of this patch, and I think you're going to see it a lot more in games. Then we have Tenacity, which you now grunt you grunt quieter, same percentage as Iron Will, 75%, but exclusively when you're on the ground. I'm gonna drop it D tier. It's okay. I'll put it top of D tier to make people feel a little bit better about it. Come on. There we go. But I still don't think it's gonna get a lot of usage. I still don't think it's super viable, and I don't think it's really good, honestly. It's always just been a gimmick perk to run with Unbreakable and Soul Guard, and I think it fits that purpose, but it also doesn't really do anything crazy that would make me go, well, why would you run that when you could run Tenacity? There's nothing about Tenacity that makes me say that, and for that, I think it's gonna be in D tier. Hope is great. They just took the timer off of it. Perfect. That's exactly what it needed. And that's completely it. That's the end of the story. It's just a great perk. It's always been a great perk, and it's going to continue to be a great perk. I'm going to put this right next to Barbecue and Chili. This is our beloved We're Gonna Live Forever. and they just took the blood points off of it. But it gives him endurance now instead from when you're picking him up. So it's like Soul Guard, but you apply it to somebody else. It'll be good in tandem with like we're gonna for the people and stuff. But without the blood points, people are gonna be a little sad, I think. But I'm gonna put it right next to barbecue and chili just because I think it thematically fits. They're both lost their blood points. They're both still great perks, and they're both still viable without them. Just not as fan favorite probably. Overzealous, the bonus increases if the one you cleansed was a hex totem. So anybody who likes to go ruin hunting, you're gonna like this. And the bonus was increased to 6, 7, 8% speed bonus. Anything with a speed bonus is helpful. I'm not quite gonna put it in B tier, but I'm gonna put it in high C tier because I think it's a great perk, and it's a great perk that you could see run every once in a while. But I would definitely run a lot of these perks in B tier over it. And I definitely agree that C tier is probably where it belongs. C tier is great. It's perfect for the perk. And I don't think you really need to buff it past this. Because anything more, and you could run into the issue of people doing generators too fast. The main thing holding it back is that you have to re-cleanse every time you're injured. And your Michaela's gonna break your shins if you break too many of her totems. To be flat and simple. That's kind of it. I think it's great. I think it's still gonna be viable. I personally run it on a few of my survivors. I think it's great. I'll never have any issue with it. And I don't have them here, but we also have the changes of the generators being 90 seconds, and then the base kit BT and speed boost off unhook for a few seconds. And we also have, what are the other base kit changes that I am forgetting? Bam, 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 bam. They're also adding matchmaking incentives for, so if there's not a lot of survivors, but there's a lot of killers, it'll give you bonus blood points for playing survivor. The prestige system will also be coming out, and they're also going to be reworking the blood point system. This next update's going to be huge. I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait to try it on the PTB. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. You're all beautiful people. This is Psychic signing off, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know my own face, yeah, I don't know my own taste. I wanna be erased, I wanna be erased. Yeah, I don't know my own face, yeah, I don't know my own taste. I wanna be erased, I wanna be erased. I wanna be erased, I'm starting to feel so alone. When I call, she never seems to pick up the phone. This is most likely caused by last night's fight. She told me to call her tomorrow night, but she never answered. Now I got all these questions and they unanswered. Like, what did I do? Do I need a better view? Is what she said true?